Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is The Creative Activist Way, Turning Pain to Purpose. I'm Ray Luskin, artist, author, speaker, and creative activist. I have the privilege of sitting down with extraordinary people who are transforming adversity into possibility, using their gifts to create healing, inspire hope, and make a meaningful difference in the world. Today, we'll explore the stories that shaped them, the lessons they've learned, and the courageous choices that they continue to guide their lives. Because I believe every one of us has a gift the world needs to hear, a story someone else needs to hear, and the capacity to become a creative activist. And I'm honored to welcome Leah Guzman. We've known each other for a little bit over a year now, and I'll tell you about that later. But as I always do, I have a poem here, The Artist Within. Before we learned to judge ourselves, we simply created, we colored outside the lines. We imagined, we wondered. Perhaps healing begins the moment we pick up the brush, the crayon, the marker, open the journal, or give ourselves permission to play, to create once again. Because creativity isn't about being perfect and being a perfect artist. It's about coming home to ourselves.
Mm, that's beautiful. I love that.
You inspired it. So
Oh, that's so awesome. Did you write that today or
a
like,
few days ago, yeah, when I was working
oh,
on getting the questions and what I'm going to say. So yeah, I always like to do that. So
that's so beautiful. I love that the last part, it's like coming home to yourself. That's what this is about.
yeah,
Definitely.
it is. And I've been doing a lot of writing lately and sort of playing with the creative activist way versus just the creative activist. So I'm totally into a lot of this. And that's one of the things I always say now. So, okay, let me introduce you to Leah Guzman. She is a board certified art therapist, professional artist, international best-selling author. She has 5 books out there and the founder of the Creative Soul Society. For more than 20 years, she's helped thousands of people discover that creativity is so much more than making art. It is a pathway to healing, resilience, self-discovery, and emotional well-being. Leah, welcome. I'm so delighted you're here.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for having these interviews. It's important work, right? If you like letting people share their stories and talking about creativity and how powerful it is.
Right. And I use Creativity Heal, and certainly the classes have meant so much more to me than I can imagine. And I actually brought my journal. I don't think you can see it though with the way it's the
Oh, you got the one from the retreat. How
that's the
sweet.
first one you got us. And it's just some of the things that I've done over this
Oh,
is
it's
when last
beautiful.
year I discovered the turtle was one of my
Your
spirit
spirit.
animals. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So Leah is a wonderful leader. She is so generous with her time, everybody. But okay, I'm going to start the interview though. Looking back at your childhood, what first awakened your love of art and creativity?
Well, I'll show you one of my first sculptures. Show you. Look.
Oh,
I just remember always like creating. And I remember like in fifth grade, I remember winning like a contest for the fire department. It was like say no to fire. And I used like the Ghostbuster symbol of don't use matches and don't play with fire. So it's like it's always been this like undercurrent. It's always been there. But it didn't came like to like the forefront until like was in high school. I moved around a lot and it was just my safe space is it was like having to make new friends, having to get adjusted to a new place. My mom was a flight attendant, and so we had she had different hubs that she worked at. And I just really got into my art. I was pretty depressed at the time. I was like anxious, and it helped me. Like it was I mean, I wish I had an art therapist at the time, but I didn't, so I would just kind of stay home and made art. Yeah.
oh, I get it. I still have some of my children's pieces, and they're 45, 47 right now, and I've got their pieces around the house. It's so precious, it
Yeah.
really is. And I know for a long time my mom had a few of my pieces. I did this batik scarf at the Art Institute one time, and I would
Nice.
still have the first piece I well, it wasn't the first, but the second piece of art that I actually won a contest for. And I've got the blue ribbon on the back, and I hung it up in my house. So
I know, it's like those moments, they just kind of stick with you, like you're so proud of yourself.
I
It's
know.
like that dopamine, hey, you're like, yeah, that's like satisfying. Like, let's do it again.
Yep, yep. So let's talk about what inspired you to become a board certified art therapist and what is art therapy?
Yeah. So I was in high school, like I was mentioning before, that I moved around a lot and got really into my art. And I was taking like an AP art class, and I had my work in a juried show. And one of the judges asked, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, what's the next step? And I'm like, well, I love art. I love psychology. I don't know. And she's like, well, have you heard of art therapy? And I was like, no, what's that? Right. And so she was such a cool person. She sent me an article of it's like a newspaper article of this little boy who had cancer, and he was in the hospital, and he had an art therapist that would come in and help him with his emotions, help him express himself, help empower him. And so they would draw out little Pac-Mans eating away the cancer cells. Yeah, and so he went through remission, like he got through the cancer, and it was just a sweet story. And I was like, wow, they like he had help during a tough time. I was like, I want to be that person for somebody, because like when I was in high school, I didn't have anybody, right? Like my mom was gone. I was kind of felt like by myself. I was just like, wish I had someone to process those feelings with. So I was like, I want to be that person, for someone. And through college, I actually ended up getting an art therapist because I needed it just to help manage anxiety. So I got to get a taste of it, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely the direction I want to go in. So my undergraduate was like studio sculpture to make bigger sculptures, and got into painting, and then eventually got my master's in art therapy. So you're like, so what is art therapy? It's a mental health profession. It's definitely grown over the years. It's counseling with using art as a way to express your feelings. So a lot of my clients, they might have gone to traditional counseling like verbal therapy. We do like cognitive behavioral therapy, that type of thing, but we just add the art element, meaning that we'll add clay, we add using paints and whatever, we use different media to help with whatever people are going through. So it's like if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, trauma, life transitions are always tough, losing someone, grief, it's just different emotions that we experience. So it's really holding space as well, letting people tell their story through their art making.
Well, I stumbled upon it myself, not as art therapy, but in my healing journey, I'd been, sexually abused as a kid, from 7 to 13, didn't
Oh,
tell
God.
anybody. Finally went in my 20s to talk therapy, which was fine. It truly got me to a place I could get married, have kids, and that was
Yeah,
wonderful. But I was still depressed and I could not
yeah,
get out of it. And one day I picked up a black crayon, we had crayons all over the house, and I just started scribbling. And I'm like, oh my God. The tears poured out of me. The rage came out of me. I didn't know that art could do that. And then it
yeah,
became something I got very interested in, and I studied it and all that because it gave me a voice where I didn't have one.
yeah,
And I didn't know what somatic response was. I didn't know we stored stuff in ourselves, and it's like, wow, look at this, So I totally
yeah,
get that. And that's why I do all the work I've been doing over the years, it's sharing those things because those are the tools that everybody has access to. You can
yeah.
journal. Everybody can sit with a box of crayons or color pencils or markers. It doesn't have to be, you know, I love art therapists as art therapists, but there are tools that you can then adopt for yourself. And I think
Yeah, I do agree. It's like being able to like nurture the relationship with your creativity, giving yourself that space, that time to reflect and dive in. But I also think there's times, and I just say this for myself too, where I did need that extra layer of
I
support. So usually it is like going through a dark night of the soul, or something happening where having someone to reflect or hold space for you can be really
did
powerful
you ever
too.
go through a dark night of the soul?
Oh yeah, and I definitely went and saw an art therapist. That's actually um this was like with my art, I was always making it, but I was never like sharing it with anybody. It was always just for myself. Um And when I had my kids, they were little and I wasn't making art. So it was just like, I was just busy. I was working. I was, helping my kids raise them. And I didn't understand. Everyone was healthy. I should be happy, but I wasn't. I was just, I'd cry in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep. I was basically depressed and had a lot of anxiety. And I didn't understand, like, I felt like I was in a hole and I just didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's when I saw, sought help from our therapist. And what was really cool about it is that it was mostly like reflecting on what was my desire. Like, what did I really want? And what came out through the artwork was I wanted to move. I wanted a different house. I wanted certain things. It was really magical because we ended up selling our house and I got the house that I wanted. I wanted to show up differently with my artwork. I wanted to share it in a bigger way. And that's when I wrote my first book, Rad is Mad. And it's a little children's book about this little monster truck who's sad and mad, and he learns how to like take care of himself and going through the car wash. But the whole process was that I wanted to show up in a different way. And so that's what got me out of the dark night of the soul, is that it got me back to my creativity. It got me back to serving, giving value. But I was also like going back to my own self-care practices, giving myself that space and time. And I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go on a dark road. And as long as I'm creating, like I've had the Creative Soul Society for 6 years, every Monday night, like I'm showing up and doing it. I'm nowhere near where I was. Like I've written like 5 books since then, so it's like I know how beneficial it is. So it's like I do it for myself, but also I do it within in community too.
I totally agree. I've written 4 books, so I get it. And
Yeah.
the first one I had an art school called Art and Soul Connections. And
Oh,
that's where I was, and I shared space with my friend who taught Mon art, which is very much here's how to see, here's what to do. And mine was all the emotional release, playing. And I'd get these kids, you mean I can scribble? It's okay to scribble? They told us we
yeah.
can't do that in school, those kinds of things. So it was great, but we could do both and then I wrote my first book was Art from My Heart, a self-discovery journal, which it was meant for like 9 to 11-year-olds, but I have activities for parents in each section, and women love it because they do need to take care of themselves and they don't know how. I
Yeah.
think or we I don't know if we don't know how, or we've forgotten how to put ourselves first, and put that oxygen mask on.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, no one's teaching us. Like
Right.
a lot of times our parents weren't doing it for themselves, right? At school, they don't talk about like emotional intelligence or self-care practices. So it's usually having to go through something in life that's like a catalyst, right? It's like we have to go
Right.
through, unfortunately, sometimes we have to go through that darkness to say, hey, I want to change. And how do I make that change? Oh, I have to go within. Okay. And there's so
Yep.
many cool tools. Like that's awesome that you have so many books too of that people can use. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, I know when I've taught classes, I get so many, I'll say, how many of you consider yourself creative? And maybe two. And I say
Hmm.
it's not about being an artist. It is
Hmm.
so much more than that. And
Yeah.
I think we as educators have to share that message, that
Mhm.
creativity is so much more. It is
Yeah.
the way we parent, it is the way we garden, cook, do our jobs. And oftentimes everybody said, well, I can't draw a stick figure. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. They stop themselves before even trying. So it's like it is that open mind, that open heart of saying, hey, I'm willing to explore, get messy. It's about the process, not the product.
Right, right.
Yeah. It's teaching people that like it's okay to play. It's okay to experiment.
Right. And there are no mistakes. That's a very challenging one. I work with, I've played with my grandchildren who are, now going to be 15 down to 7. And
Wow.
there's 5 of them. And over the years, this one, it's not good enough. I'm not perfect. I can't do it. I said, yes, you can. And it's okay if you make a mistake. It's just knowledge. It's like, what would you do differently? Or what if we tried this? And they like, oh, okay. So some of them got it. I have to say some of them still struggle a little. But
Goodness, they have you. How amazing that you get to teach them that.
yeah,
That's awesome.
I love that. Last week I got to be with my 7-year-old for 5 hours. So we made a rotation. So we would paint, Then we would do switch, then we'd be outside, and we kept rotating the whole
Yeah,
5 hours.
that sounds perfect. That sounds like a great day.
It was. It was. So, is there one message in your books that connects them? What would you say that would be?
Definitely just being able to play. I think that each of the books are about, there are techniques to help you connect with emotions and just playing with, trying something new to do that. So I think that's the connection. Each book has art exercises that relate to emotions. Yeah.
I know you call it a superpower, and so do I. So I love that. Let's think about if somebody today is listening and they're carrying grief or anxiety or just feel disconnected from themselves. What is one small creative practice they could begin today?
I love art journaling personally. I mean, we do this so many times in the Creative Soul Society. Um, yeah, I mean, you could do it on your own. If you just opening up your art journal, things that I like to recommend is, picking some emotions, maybe three emotions that you're feeling, match it with a color, and then use line shape, and see what comes up, allowing yourself to do that. Sometimes people might be a little hesitant, like, should I do this? Why am I doing this? And that's where I think community can be really powerful.
I
That's
love the
probably,
Creative Souls Society. That's where we met. And,
yeah,
because it is that opportunity. I mean, over the last year that I've been a member, it's people, oh, look, I never picked up anything. I never did any art. And then they're coming forward with all this beautiful art and feeling good about themselves. They've grown exponentially.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and it's creating that relationship, right? Because like we meet on every Monday night, not that everyone has to come every Monday night, but it's like when you do show up and you're allowing yourself to play just an hour a week, right? It can do a lot of benefits. So, and that's it's fun that people who've stayed with us, they do see a like transformation in their art from where they started to like, oh wow, look where I'm at now, right? Because like creating a series, your voice, your visual language is coming out, and you get, it's like self-discovery, right? It's coming home to yourself.
It is also so much more than just Monday nights. Why don't you tell people a little bit more about it since we're
Yeah, yeah. So we do meet every Monday night. We have like one Saturday a month, and then every 4 months I do retreats. So I do have one coming up in the end of August, August 24th. And it's like a 3 days that is we're actually I'm not doing it for free this time. I usually do it for free, but it's $7. It's a small token to invest in yourself, right? So it's like if you invest, then you'll show up. We want people to show up and experience our Monday nights, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's called the Creative Soul Retreat. And we're going to do a deep dive into like where you're holding your emotions in your body. We're going to be doing spirit animals, and we're also going to be doing focus wheel of looking at every area of your life and how you can heal and or manifest what you want using a focus wheel. So that's going to be coming up soon.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons, I have my spirit animal in there. So yeah, it came to me last year. So I love that. And I think too, there is the community because you also give people an opportunity to do breakout groups.
Mm.
If they want to stay on the call and share their art or share where they are. And it's so nice because actually somebody I'd interviewed for Creative Activist many years ago, she became a member and it's like, wow, oh, hi Phyllis, it's like fun.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you never know who you're going to see or meet on the group. So yeah, that's a
you
big
know,
piece of this.
yeah, I hear a lot of good comments at the end. I usually keep like 20, 30 minutes for people, whoever wants to show up. And they make really nice connections of just being able to share your art. That's really healing too. Being able to like talk to someone and say, hey, this is what came up for me tonight, and then being able to, hold space because the community is big. So at the end of the hour, I usually have about 10 minutes where I let people share. Because usually I'm guiding or I'll have another artist or a therapist guide. So, not everyone gets to share. So that gives that opportunity, that breakout room for people to share, which is nice.
It is. It really does. It's such, especially in the beginning. I think one of the things that I developed over the year that I've been doing artist way, our estates where, I would be writing my morning pages. And I started adding bilateral drawings just
Wow.
spontaneously at the end of them. And it was for those who don't know, it's taking a pen or pencil in both hands. And obviously I'm right-handed. So that was great. And those lines look good. And I'm like, but whatever happens, but
Yeah.
it accesses both sides of your brain. And it really helped me. That's one of those things that we talked about in this group. And it's like, wow, I can incorporate that into my morning pages. So,
Yeah, it regulates your nervous system. It calms you down by doing things that using both sides of your brain. So it's a nice way to I like to do at the beginning of my paintings, like maybe like underneath of just
okay.
warming up, loosening up, because when I can get into that flow state when I'm not like in my head, more into my body, it helps me connect more with my painting. So yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the horizon besides the retreat? Are you working on any other books or another card deck? She also has a beautiful card deck.
Oh, thanks. I actually am. I'm working on a new 22-day course. It's going to be about accessing abundance. I know I have a Know Your Money Honey course, which is like a 7-week course with art exercises to help you get in touch with relationship with your money. But this 22-day is just a fun way to start your day with intention, with affirmation, with artwork related to accessing abundance and wealth. So yeah, I'm working on that now. So I should have that. I'd love to do it as a group, like in October, like have people do it together every day. So we'll see. I'm working on it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to assume, we're sort of winding down now, but how has creativity changed not only what you do, but who you've become?
I just think it's who I am. I I feel like it's just how I was made. Like that's how I was born, and it just honoring it. That's my job is just to honor it and let myself just be me and to do it because when I'm not doing it, I'm not very happy. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm going to ask you a new question that I haven't asked before, but I believe that everyone has a gift the world needs. We all have a story that someone needs to hear, and we can all make a difference. And that's how I define a creative activist. What is your definition of a creative activist?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think it's showing up and sharing, and being authentic. I think you have to be really brave to do it. But I think that as a creative activist, if you show up and share yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, all in between, and that's what this is about. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Leah. For reminding us, creativity isn't a luxury. It is something that we all need for our
Yeah.
mental health, for our peace of mind, for us to make a beautiful world. It isn't reserved for artists, folks. It's part of being human. And I think we have to remember that. Thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, and your heart. And thank you for the countless lives you've touched by helping people rediscover their own creative spirit. I have just briefly tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, well, I'm on Instagram. I'm Art Therapy Online. If you ever want to shoot me a message, hello at leahguzman.com. That's also my website is leahguzman.com. That's the best way to check it out. And I would invite everybody to be a part of the Creative Soul Retreat that we're doing. I'll give you a link if you wouldn't mind sharing it with your audience.
Not at
If
all.
they want to get a little taste of it, then they can try it
All
out.
right. Well, we'll talk about that. I'll get it from you later.
Yeah.
Um, until next time, I leave you with one beautiful question, everyone. What would you love to create? What would you love to experience? What would you love to give? Whatever your answer may be, may you have the courage to take one small step toward it today. Remember, your story matters, your gifts matter, and the world is waiting for what you only have to share. I'm Ray Luskin, and thank you for joining me on the Creative Activist Way, turning pain to purpose.